Our goal with this market research for a new product that I'm going to go over in this video is to get a first understanding of what it would take for a new product to succeed. And by success, as always, I mean being able to sell it at a profitable price and in enough volume. So let's jump into it. To begin, let's start by clarifying why we're doing this and what the outcomes of this market research should allow us to do. I'm assuming that you have a product or service idea and you want to make sure that you invest your time and resources into creating something that will succeed. Well, the first thing you need to do to improve the odds of product success is desk research. So, when you do desk research, usually on the internet, we're collecting information that's already available out there and that can help us generating hypotheses and preliminary strategies for product development and marketing work. Remember that product development and marketing must go hand in hand from the start. If you develop a product to later find out that you can sell it at a profitable price, you just developed the wrong thing. So, your ability to sell the product should be taken into consideration from the beginning of the product development process. Unless profit isn't your goal, of course. In this video, I'm assuming that it is. But apart from collecting information to help developing preliminary strategies, this initial market research may also be useful to help us realize the amount of things we don't know and that we need to figure out to improve chances of success. Because often we aren't even aware of what we don't know until we start the learning process. So, at the end of this market research exercise, we should have enough information to allow us to put together our hypothesis regarding 1. What our product or service should include. 2. What our product or service should not include. This one is a lot more important than most people think. Watch the linked video if you want to know why. 3. What our achievable price range is likely to be. 4. Who our customers will be. I mean, in terms of understanding our main target market segment's characteristics. A lot of people lately call this finding your niche. And a quick note here. If you come from a business background, beware that a lot of people using the term niche aren't actually referring to the traditional niche marketing sense of the word, but rather to segmentation and targeting at large. So don't be misled by the use of the term niche. Whether to target actual niches or not is a very important detail, but I'll have to leave it for another day. We need to move on to the fifth set of hypotheses that we should put together based on our desk research, and which is what our main value claims will be. And by that, I mean what will be the main marketing messages and characteristics of our product or service that we should highlight to be able to 1. Get people's attention, and 2. Make a sale. So, now that we know what we want to do with the information we'll be collecting, let's move on to what exactly we need to collect, where we can usually find it, and why it's important to gather all of this. The first thing we're going to do is a list of all the ways in which people might be solving the problem that our product or service addresses right now. Note that I'm not saying similar products, but different solutions that address the same issue. These can be similar products, of course, but might also include different product and service categories. We want to focus on problem solution or goal attainment and not necessarily on a concrete product or service type. We'll see why in a minute. Also, if you haven't developed your product or defined your service offering yet, keep an open mind for now regarding what your final offer will be like. The good thing about collecting market research prior to development is that you can turn a potential flop into a hit, if you keep an open mind, listen, and adapt. Anyway, for now, we just need to put together a list of products and services that our envisioned one will potentially substitute, broadly, and try to include some that you know that are successful in the list. By the way, when trying to understand whether a competitor is successful or not, in some situations you may be able to find actual unit sales volumes for competitor products. For example, some online course marketplaces like Udemy publish number of students enrolled. And customer-only Facebook groups that are also typical, for example, in the case of information products, give a good indication of sales volumes thanks to the publicly available number of members. Those are very specific situations, though, and won't apply to most markets. Still, regardless of the sources that you find, usually having a lot of reviews online is a fair estimate of how popular a product is. Anyway, once you have the broad list of products or services that our envisioned one will potentially compete with, It's time to do some detective work on each of them. So, for each one, we're going to look for 1. A list of the product's characteristics. What does it do? What is included? This can usually be easily found on the creator's website. We want to know this because it can help us brainstorming ideas regarding what our product or service might include that would help us making it a valuable addition to the current market. 2. The second thing that we'll need to find out for each one of the potential competitor products in our list is what are the people who bought the product saying that they liked and that they didn't like about those products. We want our product to be an improvement over what already exists, at least for some people who will be our target market. So, we may want to incorporate some of the things people liked and avoid what they didn't. Besides, we want to try to figure out if there's a portion of the customers who don't seem to be properly served by the solutions that currently exist and that are looking for something different that they don't have yet and that you might want to provide. As to finding this information, if your competitors are sold through online stores or marketplaces, this should be easy to find. For example, sites like Amazon or Udemy, in case you're selling online courses, are information goldmines. But if you're not lucky to have the competitors available in these sites, you may need to do a lot of review Googling. Once you find the reviews, pay special attention to middle of the range ones. Usually the 3-star reviews are the ones where people mention what they liked, but still give constructive feedback on what could be improved upon without being overly positive or negative. Also, if you start finding a lot of my honest opinion rave reviews that go above and beyond what a regular person would write on a review, and those reviews include links to buy the product, beware that that's an indicator that your competitor probably has a nice affiliate program in place. So pay attention to that because it's an important piece of information to collect. Also keep an eye open for sponsored reviews. It's important to find out what you're up against in terms of promotional efforts. Note that sales success may not necessarily be an indicator of a good product that we can learn from in terms of product development. But even in that case, it's at least an indicator of good marketing. And we want to learn from good marketing too. So, products that sell well are good to learn from regardless. And that's one of the reasons why, even if it's not likely that you'll be competing directly with the major players, it might still be a good idea to include a couple in this list because we can learn a lot from studying what they do. But moving on, the third thing we'll need to find out for each one of these potential competitor products in our list is their price. If we can get their information. Sometimes it's not easy, and you may have to use best guesses based on what you can find out. There are two main reasons for this. One is to try to understand what can be driving the value of the different products or services up or down. By understanding what drives willingness to pay upwards, we can 1. Build those features into our product if we wish to, and 2. Highlight what it is that our product offers that matches those valued aspects that people are willing to pay for, therefore improving our product's value communication. And then we want to get an idea of what price range our product could potentially achieve. Considering that the easiest way to justify a price is to justify a premium, or parity or a discount, versus another alternative's price, we want to make sure that we find the alternatives that help us justify our product's price more easily by comparing the price-value relationship that each of them offers. And this is why we want to study not only similar products, but alternative solutions to the same problem, which might help us justifying that our product is worth more than what a potential customer might be willing to pay at first glance. We want to find nicely priced alternatives and arguments that will help us building an argument that those alternatives' value should indeed be seen as comparable to our offer in some way, and therefore its price should also be somehow comparable. If you want more on how to justify a price, check out the video I'm linking about it below. And finally, the fourth thing we'll need to find out for each one of the potential competitors' products in our list is what are the main marketing messages that the seller is using to sell the product or service. This is interesting because if the seller is experienced at selling this type of product and is able to do it successfully, he or she has already learned what works and what doesn't. So we can take advantage of their experience by noticing which key issue they are positioning their product or service to address. What features are being highlighted? What benefits are being highlighted? Are there any messages that seem to be objection handling ones? That is, sentences that seem to address a worry that potential buyers might have that might deter them from buying. And, most importantly, what dream or goal attainment is being sold? What is the big promise? What is the underlying pain that the marketing messages are speaking to? Obviously, we should not copy someone else's marketing. However, by studying it, we can understand who our competitors are speaking to and which underlying customer pain points and dreams they are speaking to. In case we're targeting the same people, we may want to test whether speaking to similar pain points can be beneficial for us. If we don't have similar target markets, that probably won't work though, since target customers may be looking for entirely different things. But in any case, understanding what underlying needs the different successful competitors are speaking to can help us brainstorming ideas. Remember that for now, we're just collecting information and generating ideas and hypotheses. So, now that we have collected all this information, we need to start developing a draft strategy. It's time to do an initial analysis of what we have and define the hypothesis I mentioned at the beginning. Namely, 1. What our product or service should include. 2. What our product or service should not include, equally important. 3. What our achievable price range is likely to be. 4. Who our customers will be. And 5. What our main value claims will be to 1. Get people's attention, and 2. Make a sale. But I have to point out a crucial thing now. You may think that you have your marketing figured out by this point, but all you have are hypotheses. I haven't been referring to what we get from this research as hypotheses because I like the words. They really are nothing but hypotheses. You see, you are not your competitors. So what worked for them may not necessarily work for you. Even if you believe you have a better product, until you confirm that this is the case, what you have is a belief. Because 1, what you believe potential customers value may not be exactly what they value. So you must confirm your expectations with real potential target customers. You must make sure that you're developing the right features and using the proper marketing messages to sell whatever your product is. 2, what you expect people to be willing to pay, again, may be wrong. Actually, I'm afraid this is usually the case. 3, your competitors and you may have completely different access to potential customers to begin with. They may also have a lot more experience selling this type of product, a higher marketing budget, a trusted brand, a larger following, an affiliate program, a better network that can put their product in front of the right people. I mean, they can have a completely unfair advantage that makes their possibly inferior products sell like hotcakes while your amazing one isn't even seen by anyone. Unfortunately, the best product isn't always the one that wins. It's unfair, but it is what it is. And that's why it's so important to understand what is that little foot in the door that will help your product become known and preferred. And it might even be a minor detail. It can be communicating in a given way, or using a given platform, or targeting a specific market segment, either through the product's characteristics or through the way you communicate. And talking to people can really help you figuring this out. So I'm afraid your market research can't end here if you have a lot at stake. If you don't, well, it's way better than nothing. But if you're creating a new business or a product that requires significant investment of time and or money on your part, and you want to make sure you get it right, you absolutely must get feedback from people that are relevant for the purchase decision before you start creating anything. There's no other way to decrease the risk of failure. Anyway, in my next videos, I'll go over how you should select what your product or service should include, how to select your key marketing messages, what you must prepare before you even start talking to people. Preparation is actually the most important step, believe it or not. So, If you don't want to miss it, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. See you in the next one. Bye!